Okay, so in the next video, what I want to do, what I want to show you is kind of like the crucial feature of, and the primary reason also of why we use these kinds of tools. Lens Studio as well as Spark AR allow you to create augmented reality experiences. But when you are creating for the phone, you have two options. You can create them for the front camera or for the rear camera. In the rear camera, you would basically augment, let's say, the world, things facing away from you. And with the front camera, that's kind of like where the face filter technology, the idea behind the face filter is, like to use kind of like the selfie camera to do augmented reality on the face. And for this purpose, what these tools do is they have a pretty sophisticated face tracking um, uh, uh, implementation. So I'm going to choose, person, raise eyebrows or whatever. Open mouth person 3 seems good to me. So that's what I'm going to be working with, so that you see the face tracking. You can also, by clicking here, you can also use your face. And you can see my gamer gear here, but this is completely uninteresting for me now. I really don't care for my own face. Like you will see later in what way I like to use face filters. It's not really about the face. It's not really about the face what matters to me. Anyway, I wanted to get back to face tracking. So over here, what you see in my scene graph, if I add an object, over here you see that I have a face mesh, and this face mesh is starred, so it appears immediately. In your case, it's not going to appear there. I'm gonna unstar it so that you can see. I have to go down a little bit and find it. It's right there. Or you can also go to mesh, and then it will appear as the first mesh. But because we're going to be using it quite a lot, I'm going to star it, and then it will just appear in my favorites at the top of the list. And when I click in face mesh, it automatically adds this 3D representation, this kind of robotic face. This already adds some kind of artificial intelligence otherness to what would otherwise be, the human face. This has its own kind of aesthetic. I already love this. This is for me already a slightly grotesque and somewhat interesting image to look at. But we are only just getting started. This is just the beginning. So what Lens Studio is doing now is using a variety of machine learning algorithms to do tracking on the person's face, and it kind of does it almost down to pixel perfection, although it's not capable of capturing some expressions, but it's fairly good. I'm going to just add a cube to this scene so that you can see a bit what I mean by tracking. So if I just add another object, I'm going to add very simple geometry. So I go to my scene graph. I'm going to repeat this action. I'm perhaps going a little bit too fast. So I click here in the plus. I go all the way down to where the box is. I click on the box, and you see it added a new box. But because this box is right now kind of outside of is in the scene, but it's a bit outside of my hierarchy. The hierarchy of the objects is represented by this scene graph. So what I want to do is basically bring the box and bring it under the head binding. So any object that is below the head binding will move with the head tracking. There, you see? That's it. So right now we have a box. I'm gonna kind of position it differently. In fact, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to scale it. So the tools that you saw in the previous video, this is the move tool. The key shortcut for that is W. This is the rotate tool. Shortcut for that is E, as you can see, and that's the scale tool. That's R. So that's the three. There are three letters in the keyboard that are really close to each other. You will find that a lot of different 3D tools use very similar key shortcuts for this. This is kind of like standard. Some of them use Q instead of W, but if I press W, you see that the gizmo for moving already appears. E, the gizmo for rotation, and R, the gizmo for scale, appears. And then with the keyboard, very quickly, I can transition from one key to another. This will, become important as you become better with this tool, that you can be a bit agile in manipulating. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale these. I'm going to send it all the way back. so that even the camera is covered in it. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to create a kind of cage for my, and I press W. I'm going to create a kind of cage for my face, but I cannot see the cage because right now the material that is applied to the object, to the box object, is not double-sided. So because the camera is inside, look, I'm going to pull this all the way to the back so that you see. So right now, you see the cube. There we go. We already have a kind of filter going there. Super basic stuff, but you get the point. Because the material of this box is only applied, it's not double-sided. That means that when we place the camera inside, so as you can see now, as I move the object, my camera kind of moves inside of the box. You can't really see what's going on inside of the box. You cannot see the inside of the box. So what we need to do is we're going to add a new material. You do that by clicking in your resources. So materials are resources, just like textures or meshes or other 3D objects. And I'm going to go here to diffuse. Now down here in material there is a lot of like 3-letter acronyms that we do not yet know, like PBR. What the hell is PBR? We don't know. We can learn that some other time, but not today. Diffuse. That's what we're going to use today. And in diffuse, when I click, you see, when I click now in the material that I just added, the inspector changes. And over here I can say make it two-sided. There we go. So now we have a material. I just created a material that is two-sided. And if I go back to my box, so we don't see any effects yet because we have not applied the material to the box. But if I go back to the box, you will see that in my inspector, my box has a mesh. The mesh is the 3D object, let's say the representation of the 3D object. And over here I have a material. As you can see, it has a default material here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the diffuse and dump it there. There we go. And now we have kind of like a face in a cage. But we can see the cage from the inside. Let's make it... what are we going to do? Let's drag this a bit further in so that we get a bit more pleasing aesthetics in this. It's not like so far out. And somehow this face seems to be kind of caged in there. So yeah, as you can see, I don't like to use face filters to make like makeup looking things or like friendly selfies or like cutesy stuff. I really like this tool because it's a full-blown 3D production tool and you can do all kinds of things with it. So let your imagination free. You don't have to do the typical stuff that is that sells the tool, basically. This tool is pretty cool. I don't really like how this box looks like, so I'm just going to grab another material. In fact, you know, there is here next to the so in the resources panel, you can add a new material and then you have to create that material. It comes with reasonable defaults, so you can not go wrong. You will not break anything. But over here there is a material library that is already so they give you pretty complex materials here already. And but I'm not so sure I'm gonna be able to make this double-sided. Okay, I'm gonna go back and add a simple gold. This is kind of pretty fine. So I'm gonna make that box a golden box. There you go. Again, my material is now in the resources list, but because it's not assigned to any object, we still do not see the golden box there yet. So what I'm going to do is I select the box by clicking on it, then the inspector changes, as you can see here, and I have now here a place for the material. And what I do is I basically click on the material in the resources and I drag it slowly there. Whoops, and also gold is not double-sided. Can I make it double-sided? Yes, I can make it double-sided. And now we have a face in a golden cage. I don't like this so much. Maybe I can reduce the metallicness of it. Yeah. And now you have, you know, a pretty straightforward filter with just a bunch of clicks. that does full-on face tracking and has an object. It's not yet interesting, but I wanted to show you this feature because this is kind of like the crucial feature that you're going to need to build face filters. We only have a box and a face mesh, head binding, but it will get a bit more complicated as we go along, or not complicated, rather the tool doesn't get more complicated. It's just that the work can become more complex and rich and interesting. That's what I mean to say. It's really odd to be doing this in a room alone by myself after you all guys are gone. I hope you can make use of this, even if I'm rambling a little bit. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.